Hi there, this is Kellie Cutsinger with Cleanly Consumed, and thanks so much for watching. I am so excited today because we get the opportunity to hear from Lindsay Renos, the primal dietitian. She is just a wealth of knowledge, and I enjoy talking to her every single time. Today, our topic, I love her positive spin. It's not anti-aging. Today, we're talking about normalized aging because, like she says, it's a privilege and an honor to age. But we want to age gracefully, but not only on the outside. We need to nourish our body from the inside, and she's got some great tips that I can't wait to hear and share with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi guys, this is Lindsay Renos, the Primal Dietitian, and I'm Kellie Cutsinger with Cleanly Consumed and Kellie Cutsinger Coaching. So today we're talking about not anti-aging.
Yeah, we talked about that in our dislike of that phrase or word.
I love your new spin. So what? Tell me about your positive outlook towards aging.
Well, yeah, we kind of have this in agreement, but the word or the phrase anti-aging kind of rubs me the wrong way because I think it implies that aging is not natural, it's not normal, when in actuality it is a very normal process. And another thing to think about is aging is a luxury that not everyone is fortunate enough to achieve. Now, I say all this with also the background kind of information that yes, we can slow down aging, and there's certain things that can promote like what I like to call rapid aging too. But in general, aging is normal. Every year we age another year, and we should be so lucky to do so. So I think, and you and I kind of talked about this as women, there's so many pressures, whether we're too young or we're too old. And so I think just taking a little bit of that pressure off and slowing some of the signs of aging, I think is really beautiful and important.
See, that just sounds so poetic. I love that. I mean, no, seriously. No, but I mean, it's uncharted territory for someone, you get out of school, you get out of college, you're acting professional, you're trying to dress older than you are.
Yep.
And you've always tried to look older and act older. And then one day you're like, wait. Yep. And it's uncharted territory. It's new. It's kind of scary just because of the unknown and not really knowing what to do.
For sure.
So that's why I was really excited for our topic.
I am too. And another thing I want to throw out there is, I don't know about you, but me personally, when I think of aging, I think of skin for the face, or maybe hair, graying. Yeah, all of this. But aging also occurs internally, which we're going to talk about today. And so it can definitely affect every organ in the body, but like particularly the brain. So like things like brain fog and memory loss. So that is aging. That is an aging process that we can also work to slow down. So for me, and I know for you too, that's just as important as, protecting the skin and the hair and things like that. So
right, the whole package.
It is, absolutely.
Okay, well then let's just dive in. I think we can maybe get started talking about one of my favorite topics, and because it just affects so many parts of our health, is the GI tract.
Absolutely. And you and I always start with that because it is so important. I think with anything in any sort of medical symptom or issue, it always makes sense to start with the intestinal tract because that's where our immune system starts. And a lot of us don't realize that our skin is a direct reflection of the integrity of the GI tract. So, whether it's advanced aging or rapid wrinkling or graying of the hair or dulling of the skin, to eczema, rosacea, psoriasis, any sort of dermatitis, those are all kind of clues or signs that there's some imbalances in the GI tract, whether it be microbial, there's imbalances in bacteria or yeast, or we've got some food sensitivities, or maybe we're not digesting or absorbing nutrients as efficiently as we should be.
Right. I mean, when you see somebody, or if you've seen it on yourself, flaking skin, psoriasis, reddening of the face.
And it's painful and it's not fun to deal with, but those are also clues and signs that something else is kind of internally happening. And I always kind of think of this in this way that, when we're applying these topical creams or gels, or even if we're applying our wrinkle cream, at nighttime, we're literally only scratching the surface, right? Because a lot of these issues are starting internally. So it really makes sense if there's any sort of imbalances, doing investigative labs like a stool panel or an MRT of food sensitivity sensitivity panel to look at those imbalances and address it and go from there. And that's going to help improve the integrity of the skin, hair. You're going to feel better. Your digestion is going to work better. Your immune system is going to work better. And you're going to look and feel as young as you ever have if you correct all of those things. Absolutely.
And it's crazy. And it's a gift in a way. When your skin is showing those signs, it's telling you, it's like the flags are up. Like, hello, are you listening?
Right.
I'm giving you a sign that my body's in distress. Please take care.
You're absolutely right. And I think of the opposite when we think of like vitality or health or immune function. We often think like glowing skin or things like that. And it's for that reason, right? Like when we have the bags under or dark circles, those are signs that things are kind of internally kind of off balance. So it really makes sense to start with the immune system, start with the gut, and go from there.
Great.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. And I have seen, for me personally, for my GI, I'm on a certain protocol, and I'll list some comments down below. But we were talking earlier about a gut tonic, a master tonic that I drink every
I want
morning.
to hear more about that. It sounds great.
I know, I need to, maybe I can list the ingredients. I buy it from a place called Farm Connection here in the area where I live. And I know that you could make it at home and ferment. And I've done that before, but see, even I was a little bit nervous about that. So, you know, I have cheated and found a supplier that I can buy that from, but it's made the world of difference. My gut is
yeah, I think that's great. And I don't think it's necessarily cheating if we're just making things a little bit easier on ourselves, you know, as long as the ingredients are clean and pure and it works. I think that's perfect. So good for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's really not that pricey. And, you know, even some people putting apple cider vinegar in their water in the morning to add to part of their morning ritual. Okay. So then let's talk about diet and why the standard American diet is so sad and toxic, and it really ages you. I'm sure there's a statistic out there 10 times faster than what you need to age.
Yeah, or more. Yeah, I think, you know, we cannot not talk about diet. Food is information, right? So every time we eat, we're signaling disease, we're turning off genes that would signal disease, we're increasing inflammation or decreasing it. So I think that it makes total sense that we have to make sure we clean up the diet, incorporate certain foods that are going to help reduce inflammation. There's definitely some key triggers. So like with the SAD or standard American diet, like you were saying, and I think most of us now hopefully know that that diet doesn't have our best interest at heart. It was really created by the government. That's a whole another topic we could talk about. But when we're eating foods that are really high in refined carbohydrates or really high glycemic loads, that's going to cause insulin resistance, and it can even lead to something called AGEs or AGEs. So it stands for advanced glycation end products. So this is really, really interesting when we think about things like Alzheimer's and diabetes. So Alzheimer's is now thought of as type 3 diabetes, which is really, really scary. So these AGEs or AGEs can literally sugarcoat the vessels in the brain, and it can literally decrease our cognitive acuity. It can decrease memory. It can lead to things as, you know, dementia and Alzheimer's. So it can definitely lead to that advanced aging of the brain, which is really scary to think about because these foods are pushed and they're so readily available at the grocery store.
Oh, so easily. And the marketing is targeted towards us. And the amount of sugar that's in these foods, I believe, we're supposed to have maybe 2 teaspoons of sugar maximum a day. It's created, it was supposed to be a spice, and you wouldn't eat cups and cups of black pepper or thyme or whatever.
That's a really good way to think of it. No, and I think that the average American, I think they say, is eating like 20 teaspoons or something like that of sugar. It's pretty profound and scary. You're absolutely right.
And inflammatory. And I know at one time, you know, in my own personal health journey, you know, I had some signs of some things. And when I started taking out grains, dairy, and sugar, it was pretty profound. I had achy joints, I had inflammation. I would go up the stairs and I would hear my joints making noise. And
you're too young to have those symptoms.
Well, I know, I was in my early 30s at the time, or mid 30s at the time. And I remember the doctor said, well, you're getting older. And I thought, well, I mean, I know I'm aging, but that is not supposed to happen at that particular age. And so when I started removing those foods out of my diet, I mean, it went away. It was the inflammation in my joints. And so sometimes you make some really small changes and and it makes a profound difference.
I'm so glad you said that the doctor, because that's the one thing that a lot of my clients come back and doctor said it's just normal, or I'm aging, or this happens. And I think honestly, it's a catch-all. It's something that they don't have explanation for a lot of times. And not every doctor is like that.
No.
Absolutely not. But yeah, tiny little changes that we can make with our diet. And again, they cost very little and take very little effort. So it's not like this big expensive prescription medication or this expensive, new, workout plan or whatever, which that's great too, but very little cost and very little work and effort, and it can have huge, profound effects. So I think that's excellent.
Well, another little personal testimony that I can share is I had some psoriasis on my legs, and this was years ago when I was first getting into my journey, and I went and saw this dermatologist that was really well known, which is great, but doctors are only trained in the area that they're trained in. I mean, we humans are very complicated, and you can only know so much about every.
We're more than just one organ.
Right. So he suggested that I do laser hair removal on my legs to treat my psoriasis. And I said, I've tried in the winter not shaving. That's a lot of information. And that really didn't do anything for my psoriasis. But I did notice that when I did get out in the sun on vacation, I would go into the salt water. But when I took out grains, dairy, and sugar, and added in my probiotic, added in my, the good acidity into my stomach with the apple cider vinegar and making it, kill the bacteria in my stomach, that it went away. And I could shave, and I didn't need,
It's expensive than the laser or electrolysis. And
I was so upset with him being so adamant that diet had nothing to do with psoriasis. And I was just like, I'm just going to let this go. So, that was really frustrating. But that was a lot easier of a solution, but you have to know that in order for that to work. So hopefully between, you and I spreading the word and letting people know that these small changes can make a big difference in the skin.
Absolutely. And on the subject of diet, we cannot forget about the hydrogenated oils and things like that, because especially we were talking about oxidation earlier, and I don't know about you, but I have like my antioxidant creams and serums that I apply to my face, and we were saying if we're eating all these things that are causing oxidation, our body has to work that much more to fight even normal oxidation that occurs with aging. So give your serums a chance to actually work by reducing that oxidative stress or that oxidative load, and literally all those hydrogenated oils, if they're not already oxidized by the time you're eating them, they will create oxidation in the body, which literally is causing aging and things like that. So
right, you're not making any headway.
No.
You're just barely keeping up.
Yeah, swimming against the current.
Not sound fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can talk a little bit about alcohol consumption and your liver health.
Yeah, so alcohol, probably everyone's least favorite subject to kind of talk about and change. Not everyone. I think obviously alcohol is a liver toxin. I think that we have to limit and avoid it. Some people are more susceptible. So you were sharing with me kind of your tricks of the trade and what you do. And, I think that for everyone, there definitely needs to be a limit on the frequency and the limit on, how often we're doing that, how many drinks per sitting. And I think the quality and the types of liquor too. So I know you and I have talked in the past about like wine, and wine unfortunately tends to be the worst culprit, because not only do you have the liquor or the alcohol that's causing that liver toxicity, but you also have the chemicals in there too. So it's kind of a double whammy in the sense that yes, your liver is having to detoxify all the alcohol that's in the wine, but also the chemicals and the toxins that you're drinking in it too.
Right, the sugars, the dyes, the glyphosate,
See, exactly. It is. And I think that a lot of times we are so, some of us are much more cautious about the foods that we eat, but we tend to kind of neglect and forget about the beverages or like the alcohol, because it's one of those things that we think, oh, it's not that often, but maybe it's more often than we think it is. So absolutely. And again, when we're talking about liver and liver toxicity, stagnation of the liver, I think, for me, I think of like liver spots, and that's a sign to me of aging, but essentially it can lead to dull skin as well. It can definitely lead to toxicity. It can lead to fatty liver and things like that. And those are all signs of aging that we don't want to ever kind of experience. So even like we were talking about that earlier, a medical grade detox, or even like what I like to call like a light detox, where we're avoiding alcohol, we're avoiding caffeine and dairy and grains and sugar for several weeks to really kind of give our digestive system, our liver, our other detox organs a chance to kind of regenerate, repair, and make new again.
Right. And so you're making a short-term commitment.
Absolutely. Very key word on the short.
Yeah, short-term commitment, but I guarantee that they will see some improvement. And really writing it down or trying to be cognizant of like and recognize the changes that you see in your body, if you feel good or not, if you're starting to see changes. But as far as, simple detoxing methods that I would personally do would be dry brushing, extra B vitamins that I know are right for my body, Epsom salt bath, drinking more water, cleaning up my diet, doing things like that to help support. But if I were to do a liver detox or something more than that, I would see someone like you, because I need to see labs. I need to have direction. I need to know what's a safe detox for my body.
Support, yeah, and there oftentimes will require a little bit more manipulation with the diet, which again, I think that all of those detox practices that we can do at home, like the dry brushing, we're getting that exfoliation and the lymphatic flow. It's perfect, and the Epsom salt baths. But sometimes we need something that's a little bit more astringent, a little bit more aggressive. So yeah, like a medical grade detox where we're doing specific manipulation of the diet. It's for only a short period of time, right? It's not a forever thing. And then we have specific professional grade supplements that are going to kind of aid in that phase 1 and 2 detox support. Absolutely.
Right. And make sure those toxins actually leave your body.
That's the scary thing too. With some of these detoxes, we're releasing them and then they're going into the bloodstream and they're not being conjugated and released. So absolutely, I'm glad you said that, because it's scary. We don't want to do a detox that ends up putting us in a worse position than we are when we started. So
there's the therapy that people do for weight loss where they have the laser panels that goes into the fat and breaks open the fat cell, and things like that really make me nervous for others, is because you're releasing those toxins in that fat. And what if you have a genetic disposition to not detox like others and you need added support? And that is why you see somebody like this right here, like Lindsay.
Well, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's absolutely frightening and scary, because yeah, you're right. We're harboring all of our toxins and all of our, hormones and things like that in our fat cells. So it can definitely be kind of scary when we're in that situation.
Yeah, it's about creating a healthy bridge to make those leave. Okay, so we're going to move on so we don't run out of time on hormonal balance. And this is, you see me like I'm doing these nervous gestures because I'm like hormonal imbalance, because it's something that you don't really want to mess with, because hormones are in charge of so much, or like anxiety, our reproduction, aging, healing, everything, flight or fight response.
Right. You don't want to go based off of symptoms. You don't want to self-diagnose. And I was sharing with you earlier, I've even had clients that come in and, based off their symptoms, I'm thinking one thing, and we run the investigative or the functional labs, and it reveals something very, very different. And because our hormones affect our mood, anxiety, like you mentioned, sleep, our menstrual cycle, our all of that, they're definitely going to cause, when there's hormone imbalances, it can affect the skin and hair loss and graying of the hair. So we don't want to play around with that, because not only can low levels cause extreme symptoms, but high levels or just general imbalances can cause, very, very wild and scary symptoms. So it's not something that we want to kind of guess around with. So Googling low progesterone or low estrogen symptoms. And a lot of times too, it's funny, if you do Google it, you'll see some similarities, right? Because sometimes estrogen levels, low levels can mimic some of the other low levels. So it always makes sense that you want to do, either a saliva or a urine test that's going to actually look at the levels that are in the tissues, and then we can go from there if there are any imbalances.
Right. No, I totally agree. So I think that's a very good point. Okay, so then I wanted to go over, let's see, some foods that you would suggest, just kind of like an ongoing basis. So, although we know that you want to rotate your food as much as possible and add a diversity, especially in your greens, what are some foods that you would suggest to people kind of just for anti-aging in general?
I think avocado is one of those that I always start off for a multitude of reasons. So I could talk about avocado as great, as it being great for heart health, great for digestion, but the types of fats that are in avocado are really, really great for moisturizing the skin, really great for that. Olive oil. So it's said that the types of oils in olive oil mimic the oils that are actually in our face. So a lot of times you can, if you have a high quality olive oil, you can even apply it topically. It won't be comedogenic or clog the pores even either. So avocado, olive oil, or fattier fishes are going to be really excellent, like this wild caught salmon. Berries, anything with vitamin C, so like our citrus, right, because that's an antioxidant. Pomegranate is really excellent source of antioxidants, and we cannot forget about green tea. Green tea and pomegranate are a little bit more fun for me to work with. Yeah,
they would be great sprinkled on something or in a smoothie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had some today. Yay. Do I look
pomegranate? Yeah, you do. I can tell. It's working already.
Yay. Okay. And then I wanted to also not miss to talk about hyaluronic acid. Now, I practiced saying that 3 times before we did this video.
You say it beautifully now.
Hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, so the hyaluronic acid, so a lot of us probably are already applying this topically to our face, and maybe we know, maybe we don't, but it's what we like to call a humectant. So basically it will swell within like 1,000 times its weight. So it with water. So it's helping our face retain water. So we want to help it to fill in those fine lines. I'm touching all of mine. Fill in those fine lines. But we can also take it orally too.
I did not know that.
You can actually take it orally, and it can help with things like dry eyes, certainly dry skin. It's great for joint health. It's going to help with that synovial fluid in the joints and help with that lubrication. But it's definitely, when we apply it topically, it's going to help with that moisturization of the skin. And I think Vital Proteins makes a good one. You can get one at Jarrow, I think makes one at Whole Foods, and they're relatively inexpensive. So certainly if you've got some dry eyes or joint pain, it's a really great product to kind of start with.
When we were talking about that earlier, I thought that would have been a great thing. So when I was having my joint pain, it wasn't joint pain. It's like you could hear it, you know, like making that creaking noises.
Yeah.
And the hyaluronic acid with taking out green stevia and sugar together would have made a faster recovery.
Absolutely. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. We cannot out supplement a bad diet, right? Because we're swimming against the current. So yes, the hyaluronic acid is great, and all of our serums that we apply to the skin is great, but we also have to really start with the diet and how much oxidation we're promoting, or how much inflammation and things like that we're promoting. Because again, give our serums a chance to actually work and see the results by changing the diet and really working from that avenue first. I think that makes the most sense.
Right, and you have to eat anyway, so you might as start with
true.
But finding a clean source, you know, Whole Foods is not I love Whole Foods, but it's not the only place that you can find good food.
No, it is not. And again, whether you've got like, you know, Sprouts or things like that, your local farmers market, where a lot of times you can go in with either a friend or someone else and buy these larger cuts of organic meat, or buy these larger like CSA type boxes and share that with a neighbor or something like that, where you're getting this farm fresh organic produce. I think there's plenty of ways that which you can eat healthier on a budget without making, you know, these huge drastic changes, for sure.
Right. And then daily harvest is another thing I saw. I haven't yet tried that, but I was thinking about how people that are in rural and then also in cities, especially, you know, people that are working and running to the office, those are great. They're already in containers.
Absolutely. I think that's great. Having it delivered to you is easy. It takes that much, you know, of the work out of it. So I think that's perfect.
Then all you have to do is eat it.
Yep. There you go.
Okay. Oh, and then maybe we can end with intermittent fasting and why that is so beneficial.
Yeah, and I'm going to link to a whole blog post I have on intermittent fasting, but essentially with the intermittent fasting, it's going to promote something called autophagy. So with this autophagy, or with this process, it literally, the word means to self-eat. So we are breaking down cell damage, tissue waste. We're basically in a state of repair and restore and renew, so we can regenerate collagen, we can repair tissue damage, all of those things, again, internally, but it's going to affect us externally too. And talk about the effects of mental acuity in the brain. So we can see profound effects on brain fog, memory recall, and things like that, just with the intermittent fasting. And it's free and easy to do, right? So
You can fit it in your schedule.
yeah, you can, and it costs nothing to you. But for most clients, it will be fasting for about 16 hours, 1 to 3 days per week. So most of the time with women, I don't recommend over 3 days, but everyone is kind of different, and that's where it helps to kind of work with a practitioner. But the 16 hours could be moved however is easiest for you. So most people will fast after dinner, 8 to about 12 p.m. And then at 12, they have a really healthy, low, lean protein, tons of veggies, healthy fat, meal to kind of start their day off. They're not starting their day off with like a chocolate glazed donut, because that defeats the purpose. Then we've got to fast
I
again.
earned it.
Right? I know. But the interesting thing with the fasting is, I know for me, I love food. And I am typically in the past have been a grazer. And so when I first was reading about all the benefits of fasting, it was so daunting for me to fast because I was scared of being hungry, and I love food. But the interesting thing is, whether I've fasted, just plain with water, or I've added like a coffee type situation, I have little to no hunger. The first day was like a little kind of, I felt like I should be hungry. And then the second, third, fourth time I did it, it's like I had more energy, even though I hadn't eaten breakfast. I'm really not physically hungry. And I think our body definitely knows
Right.
that this is our time we can break down, fat that's in storage. We can repair tissue damage and do all of the kind of regenerative things that we don't get a chance to do when we're eating all the time.
Well, one of the benefits that I saw for intermittent fasting was that I was just never really hungry. I mean, I would graze kind of throughout the day, but I was never hungry. I would sit down for a meal and I would eat because I knew it was eating time. Yeah. So now I really just don't often eat breakfast. I'll have a juice or nothing, or water. And so around this time, it's 12:30, I'm hungry. And so it's nice because actually it's nice. I don't think people know that you can miss having that feeling of hunger, eating, and then satisfying your hunger. So it's nice to be able to have that again. And so intermittent fasting for me has really just worked out great.
And it brought back your hunger and satiety cues that you had kind of been missing. I think
that's actually, I mean, it's a nice feeling to be hungry, eat, and then feel good. Absolutely. That you're not hungry anymore. But also, as a mom of 4, my mornings are very crazy and busy. So for me, I'm like, awesome, I'll give up breakfast. I mean, it just actually made it so much easier. It's less expensive, and I feel better.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that too about the morning time, because I think for most people, the morning works out. But I have, like myself included, sometimes I'll start my fast, I'll have an early bird dinner, and I'll start my fast at 5 and go until 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. So I think that whatever works best to your benefit, if you've got busy mornings, fast through that morning. Make it to lunchtime when you want to eat in a calm environment anyways to help with those digestive enzymes. So I think that works best to your benefit. So I think that's perfect.
I did a post on do you chew your food 25 times or more? And so I kind of did this challenge, and that's a lot of chewing, but I really noticed that it really was helpful.
Yeah. And I think that, I like to use digestive enzymes on occasion, but you're absolutely right that just simply chewing, that mechanical chewing, and we're secreting enzymes here too, but that mechanical chewing of food, again, it's stimulating enzymes, but it's also breaking down that food, and that's going to decrease that bloating and ensure that we're absorbing all those nutrients from all the healthy food that we're eating.
Right. I mean, and chewing a salad 25 times per bite can take forever. I am a big fan of soup. I love soup. I know that there's cultures that eat soup and broth, before every meal. And I think that there's a lot of, good things for that with the bone broth and having all those nutrients in one pot broken down. It's easier for the body to digest. But so I'm a soup lover.
Yeah, I think, and especially right now when we're getting a little bit of cold, or not cold, but rainy weather, I think it's really nice too. Absolutely.
It is cold and rainy here too.
Oh, it is.
So we also talked about lymphatic drainage, acupuncture, and I know that cryotherapy. So I've never done cryotherapy. I know I've done acupuncture. I've had clients that have had acupuncture because they can't sleep, and as soon as they put that needle in right here, like they're out. So
Right.
it really does work for people, and I don't know much about cryotherapy, but if you have any suggestions for people that you recommend, and if you had some things to say about different resources like that, like acupuncture, cryotherapy, or anything else.
Well, I think that with research and with anecdotal evidence, I think acupuncture is one of those, we've got the most evidence, the most profound effects, the most anecdotal evidence. So that's like the top of my list as recommendations. So acupuncture, they can, whether you're doing whole body acupuncture for inflammation or anxiety or whatever, it's going to promote circulation, lymphatic flow. When you're doing acupuncture specifically to treat the fine lines, and there are a few practitioners I can link and recommend, it's going to be doing specifically circulation, but also promoting collagen production as well when they're applying it. Like, again, I know where my fine lines are, so that's where they'd be applying it.
Looking. But that's why I forgot about acupuncture for wrinkles and facial skin aging, and then also facial yoga exercises, like facial yoga just for those muscles.
Absolutely.
Which is very effective.
Yeah. It is, and you see it in other cultures too, and around the world too, like with the gua sha and things like that, where we're releasing the muscles. Because again, sometimes we've got the clenching of the jaw and things like that. And then again, I'm like sitting slumped. I'm correcting my posture. I'm sure that's affecting you too. But things like that are going to not only promote lymphatic flow and decrease stagnation, but it's going to depuff the skin. It's going to actually affect the sinuses as well. And again, those gua sha tools are you can do it with your fingertips too. You don't need the gua sha tools and tap and light pressure. I always tell my clients too, because the lymph is right there. So you don't want to press too hard. Absolutely.
Those are great tips.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about this video, and I know that we could take each of these topics and make subtopics.
Absolutely.
And talk a long time. So I really appreciate all the wisdom that you have. I always get so excited in talking to you. And so I just wanted you guys to know that below I'm going to have links for Lindsay and the Primal Dietitian for her website, and then any products that we talked about today. Or if you have any questions, feel free to contact Lindsay or myself. And thank you so much.
Well, I loved talking with you as always. I think we every time we get on here, we have so much that we want to talk about, and a lot of times we're on the same page just automatically. So I think that's great, and I love all the questions. And absolutely, it's been great.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to like-minded people. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and you have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Now, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I love talking to Lindsay Renos, the Primal Dietitian. Every time I talk to her, I learn something new. Hyaluronic acid. I love using it topically, but I had no idea that you could take it internally. I believe in seeing a practitioner. She had some great tips on hormonal balance and supplementation and gut health, and how that really affects your health and your normalized aging process. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to share and subscribe. See you next time, and let's have a great 2020. Thanks so much, guys.